Have you ever noticed how one part of you lights up with excitement when something new appears on the horizon, while another part immediately whispers, "Be careful"? Maybe it's the moment before moving to a new city, starting a new job, or even just meeting someone unfamiliar. There's a thrill, a spark that makes your heart beat faster, but right behind it lurks unease. Your brain is caught in a paradox. It craves the unknown and fears it at the same time. This isn't just you being indecisive. It's a deeply human tension, rooted in the very architecture of your brain. Today, we'll explore why your mind pulls you in these two directions and, more importantly, how you can transform this paradox into a source of courage and growth. Let's start with the craving side. Imagine novelty as a piece of chocolate cake for your brain. Whenever you encounter something new, a different street on your walk, a fresh idea in a book, or an unfamiliar face, your brain releases dopamine. Dopamine isn't just the pleasure chemical, it's the fuel for curiosity and motivation. It's what makes your attention sharpen, your energy rise, and your mind lean forward as if saying, "Yes, this could be important." From an evolutionary standpoint, this system helped us explore new environments, find food, and discover opportunities that our ancestors needed to survive. Without this dopamine-driven curiosity, we might still be huddled in caves, never daring to wander. But here comes the other voice, the voice of caution. This is the amygdala, an almond-shaped region in your brain wired for threat detection. Its job is simple: keep you alive by scanning for danger. For the amygdala, anything unknown is suspicious until proven safe. That new face could be a friend or an enemy. That new forest path could lead to fresh berries or a predator's den. Your amygdala doesn't care about growth or opportunity. It cares about survival. So while dopamine urges you forward, the amygdala quietly pulls the brakes. That's why even small uncertainties can trigger disproportionate anxiety. Your brain is still playing by ancient survival rules. This push-pull dynamic explains so many everyday experiences. Think about why you might feel excited about a new project at work, but procrastinate endlessly before starting. Or why you crave adventure but hesitate to book that solo trip. It's not laziness or weakness. It's your brain's two systems tugging in opposite directions. The unknown excites your dopamine circuits and alarms your amygdala simultaneously. And that inner tension can feel paralyzing. Now let's make this more concrete with an analogy. Picture your mind as a car with two pedals. Dopamine is the accelerator. It pushes you toward novelty and rewards. The amygdala is the brake. It warns you to slow down when risk is near. The problem isn't that you have these pedals, it's that most of us press them both at the same time. One foot wants to move forward, the other pushes back. And the result is that screeching, jittery feeling we know as anxiety. So the question becomes, how do you drive the car smoothly? How do you balance the thrill of new experiences with the safety instincts that protect you? The answer isn't to cut out the brake or the accelerator. It's to learn when and how to press each one deliberately. Here's where practical tools come in. The first step is to recognize the paradox rather than fight it. When you feel both excitement and fear before trying something new, pause and remind yourself, this is not a sign something's wrong. It's my brain doing exactly what it's designed to do. Simply naming the dynamic can reduce its intensity. It's like seeing the strings behind a puppet show. The movements still happen, but they no longer control you unconsciously. The second step is exposure in small doses. Your brain learns safety through repetition. If you always avoid the unknown, your amygdala stays on high alert. But when you introduce novelty gradually, say by trying a new cafe instead of a new country, you teach your brain that new doesn't always mean dangerous. Each small win recalibrates your system. Dopamine gets its thrill, and the amygdala learns to stand down. Over time, the unknown shifts from being a looming threat to being a manageable challenge. Let me give you a simple exercise. Think of something you've wanted to try but have been avoiding because of fear. Break it down into the smallest possible step. If speaking up in meetings terrifies you, start by making one short comment, not a full speech. If traveling alone feels overwhelming, begin with a day trip nearby. Your goal isn't to eliminate fear, it's to let courage and curiosity coexist with it. Remember, bravery is not the absence of fear but moving forward despite it. Another useful practice is reframing uncertainty. Instead of labeling it as danger, try calling it information. When your amygdala fires up at something unfamiliar, say to yourself, "This isn't danger, it's data." For example, walking into a networking event might make you nervous. Instead of interpreting that nervousness as proof you shouldn't be there, treat it as your brain signaling, "Pay attention. There could be something meaningful here." This subtle mental shift turns fear into focus. Philosophers have also wrestled with this paradox. Soren Kierkegaard called it the dizziness of freedom. Standing on the edge of the unknown, we feel both terror and possibility. The unknown is frightening precisely because it's open. It could collapse into failure, but it could also expand into growth. The key is not to eliminate the dizziness, but to steady yourself long enough to take the step. Similarly, modern psychology suggests that growth always lives just outside your comfort zone, not in the extremes of reckless danger, but in the space where curiosity is slightly stronger than fear. Let's also acknowledge something important. The brain's fear of the unknown isn't always irrational. Sometimes hesitation protects you from real risks. That's why balance matters. The skill you're cultivating isn't blind boldness, it's discernment. You're training yourself to ask, is this fear a real signal of danger, or is it just my amygdala being overprotective? By practicing this distinction, you reclaim agency. Here's one more technique you can try: the dopamine amygdala dialogue. Next time you face the unknown, imagine these two voices speaking to you. Dopamine says, "This could be exciting, imagine the possibilities." The amygdala says, "Careful, something might go wrong." Instead of choosing one voice and silencing the other, let them both be heard. Then step in as the driver of the car, asking, "Given what I know, how can I move forward safely enough to learn, but boldly enough to grow?" This inner dialogue reframes the tension as a conversation rather than a battle. In daily life, this could look like preparing for an unfamiliar challenge with both caution and curiosity. If you're starting a new job, let dopamine fuel your eagerness to learn, while allowing the amygdala's caution to remind you to prepare thoroughly. If you're considering a bold decision, use the excitement as motivation, but let the fear guide you to take smart precautions. This way, both systems serve you instead of sabotaging you. So the paradox of the unknown isn't a flaw, it's a feature. Your brain is wired to push you forward and pull you back at the same time. The art lies in learning to ride that tension, like a surfer balancing on the crest of a wave. When you master this, the unknown stops being a wall of fear and becomes a doorway to growth. And yet, even with these tools, the challenge remains. How do you keep yourself from slipping back into avoidance when the unknown feels too overwhelming? This is where we'll explore deeper strategies, ways not only to face uncertainty, but to transform it into a reliable source of resilience and courage. One of the most effective ways to rewire your relationship with the unknown is through what psychologists call uncertainty training. Just like your muscles adapt when you gradually increase the weight at the gym, your brain adapts when you gradually expose it to uncertainty. Instead of jumping straight into the deep end, you build tolerance for the unknown in manageable doses. For example, try deliberately leaving a small decision unresolved for a day, like what book to read next or what restaurant to try. Notice the discomfort of not knowing, but also notice that nothing catastrophic happens. This exercise teaches your brain that uncertainty itself is not a threat. It's a space where possibilities live. Over time, this skill scales up. The same brain that can sit calmly with a small unknown becomes more resilient when facing bigger ones. Another strategy is curiosity framing. Fear often asks, "What if it goes wrong?" Curiosity reframes the question, "What might I discover?" Next time you feel hesitation about the unknown, try swapping the language in your mind. Instead of saying, "I'm scared to try this," say, "I'm curious what will happen if I do." This small linguistic shift lights up different pathways in the brain, activating exploration circuits instead of purely defensive ones. Think of children. When they encounter the unknown, their default is rarely fear. They poke, prod, and ask questions. By reclaiming curiosity as your lens, you transform uncertainty from a wall into a door. Philosophy echoes this idea. Existentialist thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre argued that the unknown is where freedom resides. If everything were predetermined, life would be safe but suffocating. It's precisely the open-endedness of the unknown that makes life meaningful. Every choice, every risk, every step into unfamiliar territory is an act of self-creation. That doesn't mean the fear goes away. It means you accept that fear is the price of freedom. The irony is that by trying to eliminate all fear and uncertainty, we also eliminate possibility. So how do you bring this down into your everyday life? Let's say you're facing a career decision, whether to stay in a stable but uninspiring job or leap into something new. Your dopamine system pulls you toward the novelty, imagining growth and fulfillment. Your amygdala screams about risk, financial insecurity, failure. Instead of framing this as a battle of good versus bad, recognize both voices as necessary. Use the dopamine pull to motivate exploration, Research, network, gather information. Use the amygdala's warnings to prepare. Build a safety net, plan contingencies. Together, they make you both bold and wise. The unknown becomes less like a cliff you're jumping off and more like a bridge you're carefully crossing. You can also use rituals to regulate your nervous system in moments of uncertainty. Something as simple as slow breathing, grounding exercises, or journaling can signal safety to your amygdala, reducing its overreaction. Pair this with small exploratory actions and you create a balanced state, steady enough to calm fear, energized enough to pursue growth. Think of it as building an inner toolkit, breathing to settle the body, reframing to reset the mind, action to prove to yourself that you can move forward. It's also worth noting that the unknown is not just external, it lives inside you too. Often what scares us most isn't a new city or job, but the parts of ourselves we haven't yet met. Maybe you're afraid of what you'll discover if you take that risk. Will you fail? Will you succeed? Will you change? The same paradox applies internally. Your brain both craves and fears self-discovery. But here's the beauty. Each time you step into the external unknown, you also uncover new dimensions of yourself. That's why embracing uncertainty isn't just about adapting to the world, it's about expanding your own identity. And when life inevitably forces uncertainty on you, a breakup, a health scare, a sudden change, you'll be better prepared. Instead of collapsing into panic, you can remind yourself, this is my brain's ancient wiring reacting. But I also have tools. I can breathe. I can frame this as discovery. I can take small steps. I can learn. Courage isn't about erasing fear. It's about moving with fear in hand, guided by curiosity, supported by preparation. In the end, your brain's love and fear of the unknown are not enemies but partners. Dopamine pushes you forward into possibility. The amygdala reminds you to stay alert and careful. Together, they form a paradox that, if you learn to balance, can become a powerful engine for growth. Without the thrill of the unknown, life becomes stale. Without the caution of fear, life becomes reckless. But when you weave the two together, you create a life that is both safe enough to endure and bold enough to matter. So the next time you feel both excitement and fear rising inside you before stepping into something new, don't see it as a problem to fix. See it as proof that you are alive, standing at the edge of possibility. Lean into curiosity, steady yourself with preparation, and remember that growth always happens in the space just beyond your comfort zone. That's where the unknown lives, not as a threat but as an invitation. And if this perspective unlocked something for you today, share this video with someone who might need the courage to face their own unknowns, and make sure to like, subscribe, and join us here at Mind Unlocked, your toolkit for better thinking and for building a life that feels not just safe, but truly alive.